Well, hi everybody. Welcome to another From Will It Start to Finish, the story of my Massey Ferguson 1155. Guys, this tractor's always been kind of a fan favorite. I guess I say they're all my favorites, but when you got all these kids, can you really pick a favorite, guys? No. Never mind that now. So a quick little story about the 1155 here. A neighbor got a hold of me because he knew I liked to restore tractors, and he said, "Hey, you got any interest in Dad's 1155? I said, well, maybe, depending on what's wrong with it. And then I kind of lost touch with him for a little while. Well, long story short, I got a hold of him about 3 years ago, so now I'd been setting for about 10 years at that point in time. And I says, hey, is that 1155 still where you said it was setting? He says, yeah, it's never moved. So I went up and took a look at it, fell in love with it at first sight, and well, the rest is history, guys. As you know, I use this tractor pretty regularly. Cool factor is about 1,000% on this one. Plan on keeping this old girl around here for quite a while. So anyway, without further ado, here's the 1155 story. There you go. Go check it out. So, yeah, I found me an 1155. Now, if you remember, almost exactly to the day 2 years ago, I drug home a tractor similar to this, my 1100. Strangely, same exact problems. Hydraulics went out. She got parked in the back 40. There she sits. So now, I come along and I found this glorious gem and I thought, hey, me and Fluffy could sure use one of these like we need another hole in our head, so, you know, why not? Let's get her going. So, like I said, no hydraulics. Someone did get as far as pulling the cover off the rear end, and yeah, the PTO clutch basket spins in there pretty freely like it shouldn't, so I'm guessing it's the same problem as my 1100 had. Downside is that this big 540 Perkins, she's seized up tighter than Fort Knox. And I have to dig into that. She's about this full on the dipstick, where full is here, so it's a lot of water. Maybe the block's cracked. I don't know. Would you stop? Here, get down. So if nothing else, I got 4 good tires and some scrap metal, but I don't foresee me letting it go to that point. So, what I think I'm going to do, I'd love to hear this thing run before I go doing anything that would essentially be a waste of time if this won't run. And I can't find another motor for it. So, I guess first things first, I'm going to get all the water and oil drained out of it. I'm going to pull the starter, see if I can get something in the teeth of the flywheel to just break it loose. Maybe there's just a little rust holding it on. I can't hardly get to the fan, but yeah, I can't spin anything with the fan. I feel like this is going to keep me busy for a long time. Cool. Okay, guys, like I said, I'm going to start by draining whatever collegiate mixture is inside of this oil pan here. Hopefully 2 buckets is enough. We'll see what comes out. Oh dear, that's antifreeze. That can't be good. That's bad. Well, so that means either I got a blown head gasket, bad head, or a cracked block. And really all those things are possibilities, but I guess until I get into it, I really won't know. So my next best thing to do is see if I can get the starter off, or see if I can find a way to get the engine to move over. If I can get the engine to make one complete revolution, well, we're going to put oil in it and some batteries and see if it starts. I'm going to do what I think is best and pull this big ridiculous starter off of here, which that looks like it's going to be a process on its own right there. If it were easy, everyone would do it, right? That's what I always say. Oh yeah, that's right in the way too. Let's get him out of the road. One less thing. Almost, but not enough. Oh dear. I suppose this is going to be too long, is it? Sure. Yep. This one out. Well, it's only finger tight in there. Wonder if the other one's the same. Okay. So after all that rigmarole, oh yeah. Yep. They are proud of that. Jesus. Okay, well at least that's out. Alright, well let's... Oh, hey, alright. We got her. It's loose. Now, I'm gonna mark the flywheel and see if I can turn it all the way. Might take half the night, but I'm gonna try it if I can. Ooh, almost got myself in the noggin. Oh, she got tight there. Okay, that's bad. Let's roll back this way a little bit. Okay, well, I get consistently to the same spot. It doesn't want to roll any further, so I don't know what that means. Guys, let's jump fast forward about 3 days here. So, I went ahead and... So I put some stuff in these holes. Now what I had, I was... the rear engine would roll over so far one direction, so far the other direction. So, but I thought maybe there's a little rust on some of those ring lands or something, so... Again, like I say, give her some blaster, took the crowbar and rolled on that flywheel. I can now get it to roll 360 degrees. So, on to the next step. I went ahead and borrowed some batteries from various other pieces of junk I got floating around here. So what I want to do, I'll go around, flip some batteries in this thing, hit the key and see if she'll roll over. See if I can polish up those cylinder walls a little bit. Well, then we'll go ahead and throw the injectors back in and see if we can make some magic happen. Let's get to her. July of 2013. So this, I don't think it's been sitting for 10 years, but maybe, I don't know. And of course, in the way things go, this has stud batteries on it. I don't have a single stud battery in the entire place, so we're just gonna, I'll do the best I can. That's all I can do. Okay, there's one. I went and grabbed me a couple of these handy dandy little things. They'll hopefully do the job. That should be fine. All right. Let me just go set the other one in the other hole and, well, we'll give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Okay. All right, well, there's some good news. That thing rolls over pretty good. I'm shooting all the oil out, so hey, that's a step in the right direction. What do you say we toss the injectors in this thing and let her rip? All right, everybody, well that went smooth. So everything's in. I left my fuel lines loose because I'm gonna have to bleed the air out of them anyway. What do you say we pull this thing out the door, give her a roll, and see if it starts? I think it'd be wise to do it outside for two reasons. One, if it does something stupid, I'd rather it did it out there and not in here. And two, it ain't warm in here. It ain't warm out there, so I know she's gonna smoke, so might as well have it smoke out there instead of clouding this whole place up, so chop chop. Let's see what happens. Okay, so for the moment, I'm suffering a fuel delivery issue. I've got this electric pump on here now. Somebody at some point in time put some thought into this because it's got a button to push to energize the electric pump before the tractor starts rolling over. Once the tractor starts rolling over, it energizes a relay which will keep this thing running. It ain't pumping any fuel. Now the tank gauge is reading I got a quarter tank in here, but you know, to rule out obvious stupidity, I'm going to put some fuel in it, hit that pump again, and, well, we'll see what happens. All right, let's give this one more shot. I put a vacuum on the electric fuel pump, and I was able to suck some fuel up from there. I added some to the tank. It definitely wasn't empty. I couldn't hear it hitting the bottom, but regardless, I got fuel as far as the filters, so let's give her another shot. Listen to that baby purr. Good oil pressure? Hell yeah, that's not bad at all. All right, guys. second part of this 1155 revival surgery. You might have saw in the beginning of the first video, bottom was full of antifreeze. It has no hydraulics whatsoever. Other than that, it's a pretty good looking tractor, so I mean, it's got that going for it. And we do now know that it runs pretty good. Now back to the first issue, antifreeze in the block. I wanted to make an entire video on that. I thought that'd be great. I took a couple days time working on this to see if I could, solve that problem. 15 psi, pretty good darn long time. The only place I could get coolant to leak was around this top radiator hose right here. That's it. To make matters better, I pulled it out in the yard and I run it at 1500 RPMs for an hour. Nothing. No odd colored smoke, nothing. It just kept my neighbors awake for an hour that day. So as for now, the other problem, we got no hydraulics. Now, let me give you a quick 101. Your input shaft on the transmission is hollow. This baby slides right through there. This hooks up in here into the flywheel in a little splined coupler. Hold that thought. Let's move back. So this guy sits in here like this. The flywheel spins this all the time. Now you get back here. There's another small coupler, about yay big. Then, okay, from there, that coupling is right about here where they split. There's another small shaft that runs to this guy. There we go, this guy. That is your PTO clutch basket. If you notice this gear on it, that gear turns a charge pump, which sits right in this neighborhood, sucks up oil from the bottom of the transmission, shoots it out to the front to the big pump. Now if you see here, something's not right there. That should only spin a thousandths, whatever slop you have between the splines on your shaft. So that's a problem. That tells me that a spline on the end of the flywheel is gone bad. This may be bad. This may be bad. This whole thing may be broken. Now, in the case of my 1100, when I did this exactly 2 years ago, because it had exactly the same problem, the little coupler that goes right here and goes into the PTO shaft, that was stripped completely out. Hence, not turning the charge pump, not feeding any hydraulic oil to the big pump in the front here, and thus forth, no hydraulics. We got all the same symptoms here. Now, the only way to do this the right way, you have to split it here, because this shaft only pulls out through the front of the transmission. See right here, it's got this little spline. There's a snap ring that goes on there to keep it from going back into the transmission too far. So you can't just split it at the transmission to pull the shaft out through the back. Next, split it at the transmission. That coupler, you only got to split it this far because that coupler is only this long, so you only have to split it long enough to get that coupler out. That could be very well the problem. That seems like in all of these things, that's the weak point as far as I'm concerned. I don't know that, but in my experience, 100% of the time on 50% of the Massey Ferguson tractors that I own, that's been the problem. So, like I said, I'm going to split the front off, get all this stuff out of the way, pull the transmission forward. Now, if it is the back shaft, that can be pulled out through the back and top, but we won't know. This is the hard part. We got to do all this first. And it's anybody's guess as to which of those parts has failed, causing that not to work. So, like I say, unless I want more practice doing this, it's best just to do it all the first time. Just replace all that crap. It's time, my friends, to divide and conquer. All right, here we go. I'm going to start from the front, work my way to the back until there's really nothing left. Let's hit it. we looking here? Everything? That looks a lot better. Okay guys, that's all she wrote. That's all she's gonna write anyhow. It's a whole lot easier to drop the tanks with all this out of the way. So I'll probably go ahead and drop these tanks. Now when I go to split this, I'll pull these bell housing bolts off. I got a few things to dismantle right here. Get it around the stand and slide that forward. That's easy. We can pull that shaft out of the center like we talked about in the beginning here. And then basically it's just simple enough as pulling the transmission bolts off, get the trans jack under it, pull that, hit the next, get that coupler out, inspect the PTO shaft, and then we just got to whip the whole thing back together and paint it, and it's practically brand new. There you are. You ready to get to work? And just like that, the little 165 comes to the rescue again. So how about that? We got her split. That wasn't so bad. Like I said, just go slow. Take it easy. Okay guys, so if you remember from last week's episode, we talked about how this shaft goes through the center here, spins a charge pump. It's only 12 more bolts to pull this transmission off of here and just be able to look at everything. Now, let's visually inspect this guy. You can see on the front, these splines are in pretty good shape. That snap ring's doing really a good job. Never mind that. These splines are in pretty fair shape. They're not bad at all. The ones on the backside are also in pretty good shape. They don't look banged up at all. So, I mean, this guy right here, and those don't feel too bad either. Those teeth are just about gone. So, I suspect that's my culprit. Now I'm gonna have to pull this clutch off of here. That's no big deal. Get that new PTO coupler that goes up in there. That baby's about 250 bucks. That's not real cheap, but hey, she don't work without it. Critical point here. I've got all the bolts but one on either side of this transmission tail housing unbolted. I've got this linkage unhooked here. Brake lines, the main hydraulic line, it goes back to your goodies in the back there. High-low range linkage. You see, I got the two bolts to pull out of the top of this housing, and then we're going to slide this transmission back and see what that other coupler looks like. Let's hope this goes well. Okay guys, here's the final bit of this. Let's see. Okay, there we go. And there's that coupler. All right guys, as you can see here, The teeth on this hub are about shot. There's not much left there. The teeth on this coupler, they're not awesome. I mean, they're not as bad as the ones on the 1100 were, but they're not awesome by any means. So after a little waiting, I finally got some parts. I got my flywheel hub here. New PTO drive shaft here. New coupler. And new snap ring. Because again, somebody mentioned in the comments a while back that they think that the reason this quit working is probably because, and I can't argue, they're probably right. This might have slid forward just a little bit. This might have slid out just a little bit, and you know that would definitely cause some problems. That snap ring is on this for a reason, and if it's, or even if it would have slid out this way, I don't know, who knows? Something happened, because obviously I could turn that PTO clutch without too much resistance. This will probably be the hardest job I've got here yet to do, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and install this. Now, and there, well, okay, that's done. Okay guys, so without further ado, give me just a few minutes to put this back together. Okay guys, let me give you a nickel's worth of free advice here. Now these bolts that go around the end of this transmission to the rear axle, there's no lock washer on them. So what I'm doing here is take some brake cleaner and clean these bolts up real nice. Nice and clean. See, I like that. This is blue Loctite. This is what I like to call the prenuptial agreement of Loctites. This says, oh, I want us to be together forever, and I won't back out. It also says, if I want to back out, I can without any special tools. Keep that in mind. Blue, the prenuptial of Loctites. Now, I guess next step here, I gotta get my flywheel back on. It was me. So, let's just jam that in there. I'm just going to snug these down. All right, good enough. All right, well, there you go. See, now if you ain't got the right tools, you can always make something work, generally, most of the time. So I'm going to go through, look up the right torque spec on that clutch, get that torque down, and it's time for the magic to happen. This is all that should turn. That's it. So that is just perfect. I think we've solved our problems. All right, guys, and just like that, we're all back together. Now, the next thing I want to do, I'm going to take you guys on under here. I've had a few ask me about this, and this is what I'm going to go over right now. there is a screen and filter on the very bottom of the transmission of this. Now, before I go filling it up with a bunch of expensive fluid, I'm going to pull that screen and clean it thoroughly and then put it all back on. It's just, at this point in time, it makes good sense. I've got a remanufactured pump. They require that screen to be cleaned in order to keep warranty purposes. So I guess we're going to kill two birds with one stone, because I'm going to record the whole thing. So if there's ever a question, I can just direct them to this video right here. But anyway, so let's crawl up under here. I'll show you how this works. It's very, very easy. Okay, so what I got to do is remove this cover. Nothing to it, 9/16 bolts. And out we go. Oh dear. That's probably a lot of multi-power clutch. Oh well. Well, there guys, a little elbow grease. That is much better. Probably the cleanest it's been in a long time. All right guys, I'm gonna smear a little sealant on here, get that back up in there, and by golly, then all we got left to do is fill it with fluid, put the big cover back on top. Okay guys, now also in good fashion, I'm going to change this hydraulic filter up top here as well. With the purchase of the new pump, part of their warranty process is making sure you change this filter along with cleaning out the bottom screen. Yep. I'll put that guy there. Sneak this back up into its home. Okay, we'll call that good for now. Trust me, my friends, it'll let me know real short order if it ain't tight enough. All right, let's set this in and see what happens. I'm gonna tell you this right now, that cover is pretty darn stout. Stuff in on the way in there. And just like that, we're in. I kind of hope I never have to do this again, but if I do have to do it again for whatever reason, I think I'll leave the cab propped up next time. Lessons learned. Sure looks nice in there. Let me go get this tightened up, guys, and let's give it a shot. This is the moment. I've had her plugged in for most of the morning, so it should start on this cold day. Let's just see what happens. This tractor has moved. As you can also see, it's still not assembled. We can steer it now. By golly, we got some hydraulics. Downside, the steering rack went almost immediately out of it once it had hydraulic pressure. That's a problem. Fun stuff over. I gotta figure out what's causing this bleedy, terrible mess. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of stuff in the way here, of course. So I think what I'm going to do, this will be my plan of attack for this project. First, I got to get rid of all this. Some of it ain't going back. I was up on the roof of this tractor, and everything that has to do with the air conditioning up there is absolute garbage. So it ain't going to work. There ain't no point in putting this back in. So I'm going to get rid of the AC condenser. Directly behind that is the hydraulic oil cooler. That's going to have to go because the top of that rack and pinion is about yay far from it. So we'll go ahead and get that out of there. I'll get the hoses off the rack, get the tie rod ends off the rack, get the 6 bolts out of it, lift it out, put it on the workbench, and open it up and see what's going on. It looks heavy in there. Ah, well, we'll find out. Something in this region here, that doesn't look right. That could spell problems for me. I gotta figure out why that popped off. And looking at it, there's orange silicone around the top, so all that tells me is that it's probably done it before. Or maybe these seals that are in either side of this ram, or maybe they shot enough where they're putting extra pressure in the side of this. It just brings up a whole lot of what ifs. Okay guys, I guess we're just gonna pull this whole rack and pinion right out of here. Which I'm sure it'll go real easy because it's feather light and there's nothing in the way. There. Never underestimate the power of a good hammer. All right, my friends, we're down to the wire here. I just have these 4 bolts to pull out of here, and I can just zing this feather light little piece of scrap iron right out of here. Now guys, if I can give you any advice at all, you don't have to use it. You can take it, or you can just leave it right there. But those 2 hoses that go on the ends of these rams, I guess you call them, for the love of God, leave them hooked on until you're done, because I tell you what, if you move the steering or the rack or push on it or, you know, basically anything at all with it, those do not hesitate to shoot oil out clear to the ceiling. Just friendly advice. Don't ask me how I know. All right, let's get... Oh, that poor light. Tremendous. You're in the way. Oh, there. Okay guys, the thing that makes this challenging job a little more challenging is, you see the big round bottom part of this rack and pinion, it barely fits through that hole. So it already weighs 100 whatever. I don't know how much it weighs. It's heavy, let's say that. And then you got to fight through 4 inches of gook and whatever else is in there to sneak it on by. So there's that too. There's no way this is going to be easy. Golly. Let me tell you a little story. I ran across a guy who was junking an 1130, and by golly, if he didn't give me a rack and a new front, well, it's not new, but another rack and a front pump. Being the price on this was $0, that worked out good for me, and I think with the weight of these two objects here, I think that he kind of got the short end of the deal there because, yeah, I had to pull them out of a jump tractor, but you know what? They're heavy, nevertheless. Now, you'll notice this is a little bit different style of rack and pinion. I was going through the AGCO parts books, and sure enough, there's two. Aside from they look a little different, the rams are a little bit different, everything else seems, I mean, pretty much the same, except for these back bolts on this one. I don't see a good reason why this won't work in place of where this was. Got that area cleaned up pretty nice, and lo and behold, if you can see that there, there's the 5th and 6th bolt hole, which were not. Obviously these racks were different, as I mentioned earlier, but I have more faith now that this one that I scavenged is going to work just fine in there. Nothing to her. Couple more. These are heavy. Whew. Okay, one more alley-oop for the money shot. Sure. Quit shooting at me. Well, there. In like flint. All right, guys. I'm going to tighten up those bolts, put the oil cooler back in. We'll catch you in a few minutes here to see if this was all in vain or if it actually will pay off. Alrighty, guys. Let's fire this up. Fingers crossed. Let's see if it does what it needs to be doing. All right, I guess all that work wasn't in vain after all. And, you know, I think that other rack definitely has some serious issues because we're a one-finger steer now and it didn't steer that easy before, so that's like a double win. Awesome. That makes my whole day. We only got one step left to do on this thing, and that's paint and body. Hi guys, welcome back today to hopefully the last part of the 1155 paint and body. Now, if you look closely, you can tell that I painted some of it already because those are the boring parts. They're not, you know, they're there, but they're not as exciting as the hood and decals and the cab. They don't stand out like the red, but you have to have the silver to offset the red. I'm going to put a little bit of time and effort into the hood and cab of this tractor because they're already in good shape. They're nice and straight, they're nice and flat, and being that the hood is already off the tractor, it's a whole lot easier to paint because I don't have to, you know, dance around pipes and whatever else. So I'm going to set myself a nice low bar for today. All I want to get done is the hood completely scraped down, decals removed, primer on. Cab taped, scraped, and primer on. I basically want to have this tractor 100% ready to shoot paint on tomorrow. You said it, Fluffy. We got our hands full. We got to get to work. Don't let the size of sheet metal fool you guys. That stupid hood is a lot heavier than it looks. My first angle of attack is going to be to try to get these old decals off. Now, I've noticed my luck in the past, I've used the eraser wheels and they work pretty darn good, but sometimes on these, they work okay at best. But nevertheless, I'm going to give it the old college try anyway. Let's put this old drill on turbo speed here. Working. Well, there. I tell you what, guys, that right there, that gives new definition to rubbing one out. Now I just have to rub that side out, and then we'll go to the next step. Well, there. There is not much left of that, but that's okay. Is an eraser wheel the best tool in the box for doing this type of project? Absolutely not. This is a great tool for taking off pinstripes, which a 6-foot long decal is definitely not a pinstripe. However, it is the best tool in my toolbox right now at this moment to do this job. And it's done. Now I got both sides off of here, so that's fine. I probably won't be taking too many more decals off with this, but doesn't matter. I've had it for a couple years. I got my money's worth out of it. Everything around this towel here, and it takes most of the goo, sticky stuff right off of here pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and just hit everything with some 320 grit sandpaper and just kind of knock it all flat again. And then after that, we'll go ahead and get some surfacer primer on here and get everything, get all the little nicks smoothed in and see what we got here. Now I just got to go ahead and tape up all the windows and everything that I don't want red. All right, guys, so here we are again now. Everything is all sanded, prep solved. Insane amount of masking. I kind of forgot what a pain in the ass it is to tape off a tractor. I would almost rather tape off really anything than another tractor, but it's what I do. I got a hot batch of primer mixed up over there. I'm gonna get a good thick coat on everything and see if we can use it to fill some of those tiny little cracks. I got most everything sanded out of that pretty well, but you're gonna have a few. That's why you get that high build primer. It just does a nice job and everything should be smooth as glass when I'm done. So let me set you up here. We'll get primer on this turkey. I'm getting excited to see it done. Okay, guys, I think I know what you've all been waiting for. I've been waiting for it too. That 1155 has been painted for about a week now. Got it nice and cured, got the stickers on. Let's pull it out and have a look. Don't mind Turd Ferguson. She's just there for the photo op. She just wanted to meet her new little sibling here. Junkyard tractor, eh, friend? That's a pretty cool picture. Well, everybody, I sure hope you enjoyed the story of the 1155. I thank you for watching today. We'll see you next time.
The pussy wagon has arrived.